So we understand that quality is of the highest importance when we're dealing with data and information, and we also understand that there are common problems with information that can happen in enterprise systems. So the goal then is to have an enterprise-wide view of the data, and what that allows us to do is prevent things that might creep into our data, which is inconsistencies, which is misinterpretations, which is kind of a snowballing effect of the problems that we see, and we don't want that to happen, certainly. So we begin by looking at this enterprise-wide view of data. And this comes from SAS, but it's a pretty good graphic here. We talked about data quality, and we need to sometimes profile the data, cleanse the data, standardize it, and monitor it to ensure that the quality is really good and really high. The next thing is integrating data across several different disparate sources. So we will talk later in the semester about a process called extract, transform, and load. And extract, transform, and load is when we extract data from a separate system, we transform it so that it meets our quality standards without changing the meaning, and then we load it into our database, for example. So we need a master data management plan so that it's a single view of high value data across all these multiple sources, and we need to understand it from that highest level. So one of the first things we need to do is understand what the data resources we have are. Where are you collecting the data from? Is it customer data? Is it patient data? Is it student data? Employees, partners? Are you getting it from sensors? Are you getting it from machinery? Where does the data come from? And how much data are you needing to collect? And then what information is most useful to the enterprise? How is that data and that information structured? How is it organized? How does it connect together? Who has access to it? And who needs to have access to it? Are there any problems with the data that you should be aware of, and can you fix them at the front end? So also understanding the data resources involves other questions like, when is the data created? When is it processed? When is it destroyed? And who's responsible for all of these things, like the creation, the processing, and the destruction of the data? The second thing we need to know is, we need to have, is an understanding of potential data problems. There are certainly problems with the data itself. That would be a technical problem. The computer systems that we use could be in-house. They could be distributed on cloud servers or things like that. We could have a data center that we collect data in and store it on a particular data center site. We could have personal computers, laptops, and tablets that have data on them, and even mobile devices. And we also probably need to ensure that the data is protected in those devices. So having policies that protect the data and protect the holder of that data, for that matter, are really important. There are organizational structures that can cause problems with the way that we manage our data. So the size and the nature of our organization is important to understand. If you're a small organization, then chances are pretty good that everybody has access to everything. And that's not always a good setup. So you might have to put some sort of structure in your small business. Versus if you're a large business, sometimes that can go the other direction. You have very strict and very rigid lines and lines of communication and hierarchical structures that make sharing information very difficult. So that's important to remember when you are looking at your enterprise-wide view of data, so that you can understand where the sharing silos might occur and how to break those things down. So the type of business conducted is also important to understand because that has legal implications. For example, the legal the legal matters surrounding health information. So that's the HIPAA law that we have here in the United States. And it's very strict about how you can share information and what information you can share about medical records. We also in the United States have FERPA, which is a law that is geared toward student records. And it just like HIPAA is very prescriptive in what you can and cannot share and to whom you can share it. So understanding those types of things and understanding how your data can and can't be shared could lead to kind of your data management plan that you come up with. It certainly would be very important to it. So, and another thing that we need to think about is that central location that we've been talking about. The central location is often an enterprise resource planning software. So that is a single integrated database that meets an organization's entire data needs for the management of its data resources. And that sounds like it would fix everything, but it doesn't fix everything. There are some examples, SAP HANA, the Oracle ERP Cloud, NetSuite ERP, Biz Automation. I mentioned Epic previously. That is an ERP for medical records. So there are lots and lots of these enterprise resource planning software systems that are important to us.